All right. Hi, guys. So we are going to do our last video about adaptations. So far you guys learned about adaptations in the desert, in the Arctic. Can you guys guess where we're going to be learning about today? Look at my background. You might have some of these around your house. You might have been to one in the area. So we are just doing woodlands and forest, okay? So stuff that we would have here in Indiana, okay? So these are the last set of animals and area that you're going to learn about to really think about your animal that you're creating. What combination of adaptations or combination of animal is yours going to be? So I just have two little books we're going to read, and I also have I have 3 activities today that you could do right at home to kind of simulate an animal adaptation, just like yesterday with the blubber and the Crisco. So my first book is What Can Live in a Forest? Forest is a habitat, just like the Arctic, the desert. It is where plants and animals live. Forest animals have special adaptations. These help them live in forests. We should know all about that right now. Birds are a big one. I'm going to be talking about this in our other video too, okay? Birds use hook-shaped bills or beaks to open nuts. Other birds use thin, curved bills to catch insects. So this is a big thing, okay? So depending on the type of beak or bill that a bird has really determines what they're going to eat, because that's how they get their food. This is how they get their food, okay? Okay, so let's go with this. And also their feet too. Their legs, their feet have a lot to do with how they live, where they live, what they do every day. So let's take a look at these. So ducks have their bills that are kind of filtering. So if you ever see a duck, you see them going in the water and getting their food. They kind of take a big thing of water in. Well, they don't swallow all that water. They kind of use that to filter out the plants in the water. Almost kind of like a strainer, if you've ever used one at home. They have webbed feet. Those webbed feet, just like we talked about other things, webbed feet help them swim. If you've ever used flippers, that's kind of like a duck. So probing, this one has a really long and thin beak. So that might be for birds that are trying to going into small crevices to pick out insects, because think, could the duck fit their bill in a really tiny hole? No. So this is how this bird gets their food. Catching insects, little short, sharp beaks like this to catch the insects that are kind of flying around or maybe just on a tree. Catch them and eat them. Cracking seeds. These are like cardinals, our state bird. They have these thicker beaks and they're specialized for cracking seeds, kind of like a nutcracker. They're very thick beaks, so they're kind of, because seeds are very hard to crack, so they crack them. Tearing meat. So some birds eat meat. Look at how the shape of their beak, it's sharp at the end. This allows them to tear meat. So hawks, eagles, vultures, so they're all birds that eat meat. And then drilling holes like a woodpecker. So this woodpecker has a long beak, but it's also thick, because that's how they are allowed to peck into holes. Because if they had a really thin beak like this one right here, it'd probably break, but this thick, long one allows them to drill into holes, and that's how they get their food. They get their food from the insects that are in the trees. Looking at their feet, we have feet that allow them to swim or walk. We have feet that just allow them to walk. Perching. So when you see a bird or like an eagle perching on something, their hooks, their claws kind of go over the limb so they don't fall off. Seizing prey. We know what prey is. Prey is the animals that get hunted. So these birds, hawks, raptors, eagles, osprey, they go and they use their claws to come and swoop down and grab their prey and get a really good grip on it. And climbing. Woodpeckers climb the trees. That's how they hang on to be able to drill into the tree, okay? So all these feet and all these beaks really have to depend and really alter what the bird can do, eat, how they live. So think about this when you're making your animal, okay? What do you want your animal to eat? If you're doing a bird-like animal, what do you want it to be able to eat? What kind of feet do you want it to have? All right, let's move on. Ants use strong jaws to cut leaves. A deer's brown coat helps it to hide. Guys, we talked about this so far. In every single habitat we talked about, there are animals whose fur or color of their fur, skin, scales help them hide in that kind of habitat. Porcupines use claws to climb trees. So just like birds have special claws to climb trees, so do mammals too. And this one's different. They have sharp quills to fight off hunters or to fight off predators. So think about what your animal can have to protect it from other animals that want to eat it. Squirrels use their long front teeth to open acorns. Squirrels use their bushy tails. The tails help them land after they leap. These insects might look like a stick, but it makes them hard to find. Does anyone remember that word? Starts with a C. Of what animals, insects, and birds do to hide. What's it called? It's camouflage. And just like the Arctic, bears sleep deeply in the winter when there is less food. So when it's cold out, it gets less food. They go to sleep in there. It starts with a D, their den. Frogs. Frogs are another big one. Frogs have lots of adaptations, okay? So one of their adaptations is their sticky tongues to catch insects. You ever see a frog stick their tongue out and grab something? Frogs also, look at their little paws. They got like little circles. This helps them stick to things. This helps them stick to things. Another thing frogs have, some frogs are poisonous. So they're not very poisonous to us, but they're poisonous to things that try to eat them. Same with toads. That's why toads are all bumpy. So toads and frogs, sometimes, not all frogs, they have a poison that they could kind of leak out of their skin when they feel threatened or if they feel they're in danger. And that way they taste really, really bad to animals that are trying to eat them. So that is another kind of defense, just like the porcupine, to stop things from eating frogs. Also, another big thing with frogs is how they survive in the winter. And I will be talking about this in a little bit, okay? So what other adaptations help animals live in the forest? So bat adaptations. When flying in the dark, a bat sends out a high-pitched sound. The sound bounces off any trees in the bat's path. The sound makes an echo. The bat will fly around the trees instead of bumping into it. That's pretty cool. Okay, I have one more book we're going to read. All right, my final book is What Can Live in a Lake? Because we have lakes around here too, okay? Lake is a habitat where plants and animals live. Same thing, adaptations help these animals live there. So fish, how do fish swim? They have fins. How do they move around? That's one of your questions. How is your animal going to move around? Is it going to slither like a snake? Is it going to have legs, claws, paws, fins to move around? Gills help them breathe underwater. So fish use gills to breathe underwater. Other animals, they just breathe in air that don't live in the water with their lungs. Ducks use their webbed feet to paddle through the water. Ducks also have a special oil and a special gland underneath their feathers. And if you ever see a duck out of water or about to go in the water, you'll sometimes see the duck turn its head around and start poking at itself. So it's activating those glands that they release an oil. And that way, the water, when they go into the lake, doesn't weigh them down. It's almost like it makes them water resistant or water repellent, meaning that the water doesn't really stay on them. Think about if you took a towel and you put it in the bathtub. That towel would just absorb all the water and get really, really heavy and sink. So the ducks have that oil on their feathers so that their feathers don't suck in the water, because then the ducks would sink. Snails have shells for protection. Another way animals could protect themselves. Turtles also have shells for protection. Again, with birds and their bills, their beaks. Gills use sharp curved bills to eat fish. Pelicans carry fish in their pouches under their bills, so right here. Beavers use sharp teeth to cut branches. They also use branches to build dens. Herons have long legs. This allows them to stand in the water. Herons walk in the water looking for food. So look at their bill. It's very sharp and long. Almost like kind of like a big sword. So what they do is they stand in the water and wait. And when they see a fish coming around, they stick their beak or their bill right in the water and they catch a fish real quick. Water striders use long legs to skate on top of the water. So, turtles. A turtle has a hard shell that covers most of its body. When danger is near, the turtle tucks its head and legs inside the shell. And then the webbing, again, we've heard this before, webbing between the toes helps the turtle swim, just like the duck. It also uses its strong jaw to eat plants and small animals. All right, guys, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to pause this, and then I'm going to go into my kitchen, and we're going to do some activities, okay?